Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sacred Matrix. I'm your host, Janet Kira Lessin, and I'm here with Dr. Sasha, Alex Lessin, my wonderful co-host and husband, and our producer is Deborah DeFranco, and you're listening to Revolution Radio Studio B. And our guest today is John Hanneman, and he is the host of Spiritual Rockstar podcast, and he's a master intuitive business coach. And he's going to tell us about our sacred purpose. He has a website called Your Sacred Purpose. It's not mine, it's yours. It's our sacred purpose. Now, the site is called Your Sacred Purpose. It's a wonderful site. And I was looking at his story, and it's very inspirational, and I don't want to, if I just read it, it's not going to be as powerful as if he were to tell us about it. But before I bring him on, I want to say hi to Dr. Sasha. Go ahead. Speak up. Say who you are. Say hello.
Hello. We're really looking forward, Daniel. It's like, because the message, if I could put it in a metaphor, if life gives you a stable full of horse manure, there's several things you can do about it. You could shovel it, and maybe you'll find a pony underneath there, or maybe you could repackage it and get a value added. So what I'm going to ask Daniel to do is to show us how we can take these times and these circumstances and turn it into a stimulus for getting higher for yourself and everybody else.
Welcome to our show. Hi, again.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. I love that, Dr. Sasha, what you said with that. And absolutely. And I do have a couple of stories, at least, to share and inspire people with that. And because I know, through my own experience, that's absolutely true, that we definitely, as they say, can make lemonade out of lemons. I mean, we are magical beings after all.
So you had a kind of a rough upbringing, or something was going on in your life that wasn't optimal, and then you turned it around, and eventually you created a successful multi-six-figure international healing business that serves light workers, healers, spiritual entrepreneurs around the globe. Anyway, it sounds just amazing. So tell us what was going on with your childhood or with your upbringing? I mean, mine was horrible. I was bullied, and my mother was crazy. But besides that, we all have stories.
How was the parade, Mrs. Kennedy?
Yeah, how was the parade? Anyway, but so tell us a little bit about your background. Were you born and raised in Chicago, where you're living, or was it somewhere else in the world?
It's right here. It's right here in the Chicagoland. I grew up in Roselle, Illinois, and it's a suburb of Chicago. And and I could even go into the depths of every little thing. Like, in Roselle means this to me. There's so much depth. I'm a deep guy. So, but I grew up there, and honestly, I didn't have a bad, overall, it wasn't like this bad childhood. I didn't have that. I'm going to get into what my challenges were, but my challenge was more just like it is for so many listeners probably that are light worker type of people and whatnot. My issue was more like I came here and, we come in with this huge hearts, this huge love, this huge sense of innocence. And you're like, what's going on around here? That was one of the big traumas, I think, right there. It's like everybody's nuts. They're arguing and bickering about things. What is that? What is this? So I was just kind of like, I was just very quiet as a kid. I was very observant of such things. And I just wouldn't say much because I just thought, okay, I'm just observing. I'm just taking it all in. And I would watch how people would do things that, just relatives and, everywhere, everywhere, school, whatever it is, just taking it in. And then like, you go to school, they got rules and it's just kind of, some part of me always is thinking like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing these things? So I always had that kind of thing going on, and I just felt very awkward. I had a lot of energy. I wanted to be very creative and spontaneous. I remember just the littlest things, like just playing with one of my cousins. I was just being really spontaneous, and we were put on boxing gloves and box each other, and it was my girl cousin, but like, I just remember that, like, being with a lot of energy and then not knowing where the limits were. Like, well, if I go too far with all this fun and everything, it'd be such a goof, maybe I'm going to be judged. So people call that shyness, but I also feel it's a sensitivity as an empathic person, of feeling like I don't know where the limits are, where people are going to say you're too weird now. So I really dealt with that, and I didn't know I was really dealing with it back then. You get a feeling, right? So it's all, like, I keep getting feelings. So you just have a feeling like there's something not right, and, it could be wrong, and all that sort of stuff.
You were afraid of you felt you were being judged. You had to pull yourself and rein yourself in.
Right. Exactly. And I did that so many times, throughout my life, and as a child especially too. I remember being really good with silly little things I think matter to people, is to your audience to hear for their own story. Like, I was really good with, they did those flashcards around the world. They did them when I was a kid anyway. Uh-huh. And I'd be like, okay, and, for me, it was easy. It was just so easy. And when I was winning, I just felt like this isn't right. So I'd start losing. I just let the other person go ahead and do it, because they're sitting there counting on their fingers. I'm like, oh my God, this is a mismatch. I mean, just you do it, So I know, like, these little things really created, me distrusting capacities and the power I had. And put me into a box where, when I became, as I was coming along, I think part of me thought I was so crazy that I believe I tried to kill myself when I was 11 without realizing it. I told you this story, I think, when you came on my show, maybe.
Right. This is a new audience. What did you do when you were 11?
Yeah, so what happened, I was working with my dad. He had a lawn maintenance business, and I was picking up the grass pilings and going up on top of the dump truck. We had a dump truck, and then behind it was a trailer with lots of heavy equipment. And so I get up there, and it's really piled really, really high. I had the wooden boards all around the back, one of those type. And so I was way up high putting this grass in there. And then we had all, Mexican immigrants, they, legal and illegal, by the way. I mean, but they are all piling into the truck. None of them really spoke good English. And I was just shy. I was just like, oh, they know I'm up here. But no, they didn't. So they started to move the truck, and I thought, oh, I got to get off of here because they're going to go on a major highway. And so I went to jump off. I went to jump off because I thought I can't survive this. I just freaked out. So I jumped off the back to the back of the hitch between the dump truck and the trailer, and I fell underneath, and it rolled over me, but it only ran over one of my legs apparently, or maybe, who knows, right? But I was just that, then I went into that, I didn't, I just had everything slow down kind of experience where it's just like, whoa, I'm going to die this way. Wow, that's pretty interesting. I had actually a lot of peace. It was just like, oh, that was interesting. So, but no, if it was done going over me, I was still here. And the strangest thing is I only had a leg filled with bruises and some tissue, soft tissue damage. Really not really a break, nothing serious. Although it did put me in bed for most of the summer because of the tissue damage. So I just had to heal it up. But I know, now as an adult, I replayed that scene, and there's definitely divine intervention. There's just no way. I mean, you can't, those trailers are really low. There's just no way they couldn't hit my head as I was going underneath. So I really feel now, as I look back and I've reviewed it, my consciousness, I'm like, oh yeah, I was trying to leave the planet. Like, this was, I chose that scene, of course, right? So,
Daniel, what did you choose that scene to teach you? If you chose the scene, what's it supposed to have taught you?
Yeah, I think what it was trying to teach me was to speak up in part, because I had the opportunity to let them know. Like, I don't even know if I said much once they started moving the truck. I was like, oh, I don't want to bother you. Let me just jump off the truck. Like, I mean, I just didn't speak up.
Did they ever know they ran over you? Did they ever find out they ran over you?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, they were my dad's employees, so oh yeah, and they got yelled at really badly, but but yeah, absolutely they did, and they felt horrible about it, but it's that was one of the lessons. It's just that I needed to speak up, and I needed to assert my life force more. I just wasn't asserting my life force.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah.
That was a rough one. Well, I'm glad you survived it. And how long did it take for your body to heal?
All summer, he said.
All summer. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was all summer in bed, and it was, I'd wake up every morning in pain, and and they'd come bring me my pain pills and all that stuff, and I mean, as a kid, it had some perks because people are coming, oh, you poor thing, right? So I mean, so I was receiving more attention, which is probably what I really wanted. It's probably part of why I created the scene. Is like, would you pay more attention to me? And because my sister was one to get into trouble. And she would tend to be the one to get the attention and be like the bad one. Whereas, I'm the prince, I'm the good one. So that's the kind of dichotomy that was set up.
Your intentions are always manifest and that's what it was. That was your intention, attention.
Right.
You got it.
You got it. I did this as well when I was a child. I was always sick, very sickly child. And that's the only time I got attention. And it's like my parents, they basically ignored me most of my childhood. But when I was sick, so you didn't do that again, though.
No, I didn't. Some people do. They keep repeating that particular one. I didn't repeat that one. I got better, and life went on. It seemed just like, okay, I'm fine now. I'll get back to that story again a little bit later. But I had a lot of anxiety and depression going into high school then, once I got to that level, because I didn't get it the first time, really. I mean, it was trying to teach me that lesson, but I still wasn't willing to show up. I felt like it was too much of a risk mostly. Now I did play around through my childhood, being a class clown a little bit here and there. But it's also a sense of being controlled by others, right? So like one kid would be like, hey, do this, do that. And I'll go along with it until one day I asserted myself. You see, this happened before I was 11. I said, no, I won't do that anymore. I won't throw that paper at the teacher or whatever. And he's like, from that day on, I was harassed by him and his gang. It's like a gang of kids. And so that kicked off a big thing that, believe it or not, was like a big thing too in my life. Like I could be, I'm controlled. Like people want me to be a certain way, and you should be like this, or you got to do what they say, or else we'll get you. And so, but I couldn't seem to break free, and so I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression in high school. I was called Mr. Invisible, because they say you just melt right into the walls. It's like you're not even here. And so I even feel some sadness remembering it now. It's just so it was very intense. The only time I had fun was after school. I get together with one of my friends and we would go out, we do vandalism. That's how I got it, felt like I was in charge. I can do this. Look at this. Look how powerful I am. I can, do these things, throw an apple through someone's window or whatever it was, but just getting into trouble. I didn't get into any trouble because I was very elusive. I was very good at not getting caught too. That was my MO as a kid. I could do things, but I would get away with it. I had that energy going. So
that you're bringing back a memory when I was a kid, the boys in the neighborhood would go steal street signs. They would just do vandalism like that because, maybe they were suffering the same thing. They just wanted attention or they were acting out. Wow. So this is good that you did this self-evaluation. So go ahead. So you're acting out, doing vandalism.
Yeah, this gets very fascinating. It's going to be very illuminating, I think, for people listening. Because what happened is they took me to a psychiatrist because of the depression and the anxiety. So they took me to a psychiatrist. We sit down. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm going to start telling them the feelings and thoughts I've been having. So he says, so tell me, about yourself and what's going on. I says, yeah, I don't know. I've just connected to lots of energy. And for example, I could blow up things with my mind. I could just blow something up. I haven't done it, but I know I can do this. And so he literally was a stereotype psychiatrist from the old days. Very interesting, very interesting. Literally was saying something. And so by the time I was done, I was diagnosed with, I think bipolar with psychotic features or something, and, they're writing out these scripts. Well, guess what? I never talked about that to such people ever again, or really anybody, I'd be like, okay, we don't go there. All right, So I thought if I told the truth, like somehow that would liberate me. So I was, again, I got the message, don't tell the truth. Don't share your truth. And I always got that in my family too, like with my parents. I would, when they say things that weren't accurate, I would say, that's not true. That's not true. And they'd be like, you just like to argue. Why do you argue with us? It's like a problem. So, anyway, so that was the thing. It was like, you're crazy. You argue too much. So you just kind of feel like, the world's crazy. I don't think I'm really crazy, but it's really depressing. And I always felt, though, like when I grew up, that I would make a big difference, that somehow I would be able to do whatever my thing was. It was kind of, a subtle, deep feeling. And that's one of the things I think that helped me keep me kind of going, because I did have suicidal ideation, lots of that, but I never did anything. So something kept me going.
Wow. And you never had any more accidents. So you got those.
Not like that. No, I mean, nothing close to that. Yeah.
Did you do drugs or anything or drink or?
No, not too bad. I mean, I did get into some alcohol, but not too much. Just kids screwing around, But no, I didn't actually. In fact, when I was in college, I remember when I got into doing, alcohol, just even 3-4 nights in a row, I'm like, whoa, I could get to really liking this. I better stop. I was really sensitive and I had a lot of wisdom, this, natural wisdom to just kind of know better with certain things. So no, I didn't do that, but I was just very depressed.
So you, I see in your bio here that you went back to school for a master's in clinical psychology. What did you start? You went to college, right?
So I went to college and I got into creative writing first. I had a lot of fun with that. I still liked, I'm very creative, but I didn't feel like that. That just didn't feel like the exact right path to me. My mind said, well, I'm not good enough at it because I wasn't getting the greatest marks on it. So I just, that's not for me. So I got into psychology. And then after I got my bachelor's, I was like, oh, let me go off into something different, like copier sales. Because you can't do anything with a bachelor's in psychology to speak of as far as like, oh, you got your bachelor's in this. That's great. Let's hire you. So I went into sales because I wanted to get over like not expressing myself. So, and being assertive and persuasive. Because I can be very, very persuasive. So I got into that, and I wasn't very good at it, to be honest, but it helped me to finally start showing up, being assertive and getting over my rejection sensitivity. So that was huge. So I did that for 2.5, 3 years at the most. I don't know exactly, but something we're in there. And then I went and got my master's degree in clinical psychology, which is a whole nother story. But I started breaking through because when I went for my master's, I started making friends right away. I had a real social life for the first time, not just some friends. And so I really, really was finally developing socially and emotionally too. And that was a huge blessing going through that. But yeah, copier sales wasn't for me. So
no. Now, did you have any relationships
No, I would not go with girls because my sister got pregnant at a younger age, out of, she wasn't married or anything. And so it was she was like 20, I think, when she got pregnant. I mean, young for these days, somewhat young. And it was, and then she was like, she didn't even know who the father was, all that sort of stuff. So I was just like, oh man. And then he didn't want anything to do with her then. And I'm like, oh my God, like so many things came to me of, I don't want to be like that, right? I'm around teenage boys that are just talking about one thing, right, with girls. So it's like, no, I'm not going to be like that. That's not right. And so I went to the other extreme. I'm like, no girls. So I'm just going to abstain. And then I also have the knack of knowing where things will go. So it's like, okay, I know this relationship wouldn't work anyway. It's not going to, or it won't last, right? It'd have to be a good time. But to me, that wasn't good enough. It was just like, ugh, and I was too scared. So that kept me away from girls. So no, I didn't have any relationships either with girls either.
Mm-hmm. So you have your master's. Now what?
So yeah. So you got to hear this one story of the master's. Now this is another soul crushing experience. Truly, somewhat remarkable. I got to the end of what I thought was the end of my 2 years of study in clinical psychology, getting my master's. And now I'm supposed to go on my externship, but my professors tell me that were working with me on my thesis. They said, well, he's not ready. After all, he's been splitting between us because I'm very deep. I'll go with every professor. I ask them all the same questions. I'll say, what do you really think? What do you really think? And they just said, you're not ready. You're asking too many questions. You're trying to pit one against the other because I asked them all the same questions. So I'm trying to pit you guys against each other, right? So, and then they said because I was too low key in doing the practice, counseling or whatever you want to call it, the therapy. So we would do these case studies and they said, you're too low key. And I didn't realize I was just really tuning into people. I was working with them on another level. So nobody understands that, right? So I didn't fit in. And so they said, no, you've got to do all these different things. You need to go get therapy. You need to do this. You need to do that. And they were right. Some of the things they were right about, but they also didn't see other things about me. They all acknowledged I was brilliant at understanding people. They're like, how do you, they're almost like, whoa, wow, you can really understand people at a deep level. So they understood that, but they're like, you're too deficient. And so that became a really big thing because, it's like thinking you're going into a career to be a psychologist or in therapy with people, and you're being told you're probably not good enough. In fact, one of my professors says, I don't know if you can do therapy, but you're amazing at assessment. And I even thought at the time, well, maybe I'll have to just settle for that. And so it was really soul crushing. I did get through it. I just decided to make everybody happy, just say what I need to say, be the way I need to be. And then I got through it, but it was with a lot of sense of, it being tough. And then, after that, I actually, my first job, I got the treatment again. It was like, okay, you're doing everything wrong. We're going to fire you. And within the first month, I was fired my first job. So you could imagine I was so crushed. I remember crying to my dad. He was so awesome about it. He just said, "No, you're going to be absolutely fine. Trust me. I'm not worried about you at all." And that was huge because I really didn't know. Think about it. I worked really hard to get to where I got to that moment in my life, and then to be told you're not good enough. You don't fit in again. That was pretty traumatizing at the time.
Wow. You have a question, Sash? Anyway, that's. So what did you do? How did you pick yourself up? What happened next?
Yeah, yeah. So what happened next is I got into the right environment with the right people that could appreciate me. So I actually went to work with the quote unquote chronically mentally ill. And when I got into that environment, it's like everything started clicking like what people there too did, right? So it's it's like I started working there, and the people that worked with them and the people I was working with, it's like, well, we like you. You understand us. So that worked beautifully. In fact, it worked so beautifully. The first job I got hired away by another organization within 4 months, for a considerable more pay and, better position. And I was there for a number of years, doing that work. And, therapy or, just all the different things. They lived in like residential homes and we were helping them there. But I thrived in that, and not with it, and didn't have some challenges, but I thrived there and, finally found my element. And along the way, I picked up, started getting into science of mind, the metaphysical aspect. And I got really into that. When I found that, at that moment, I felt like I had come home. Like, I've always believed all these things, I've always believed this stuff. You put your focus on it, it happens, I've always known this and, all the things they're saying. And, so I really got into that, and then I really was blossoming. And, I was really like, people really saw me as a leader at these churches I was a part of these Science of Mind churches. Like I became a practitioner, a licensed practitioner. And people would say, like, well, if Daniel was in charge here, we'd probably fill this church. Like, that's how much of an impression I was making at the time. So it was my life was really starting to flip now. And I finally started dating. I finally had my first significant relationship with someone during that time. And so things really shifted for me. And the Science of Mind, then I finally had confidence, too, like, okay, I can express myself. I can do what I want. You can have what you want and all that good stuff. So
right.
that was the next leg of my journey.
So it says you allowed your soulmate to come to your life, and then you had your first child. So tell us about that time in your life.
Yeah, that was huge too. Now, that's another big sort of quick story is with meeting my wife. Again, I'm so picky that I was online. I was looking through all these thousands of profiles, and I would just instantly know where to go. I'd be like, nope. That's how I was. I just wouldn't bother if I just knew it ultimately wouldn't work, right? Uh-huh. So then finally, one day, I got so disgusted because I couldn't seem to find the right person. So I just said, that's it. I'm opening up my criteria. I used to say I wouldn't marry somebody who used to be married or have kids previously. So that's it. I'll just get even rid of that. I'm just going to open it up, and either I'm going to find this person today or that's it. I'm walking away from it indefinitely. I'm just not going to look anymore. And so I got into it, and lo and behold, I found my soulmate. I found her, like that day. So, and I was and of course she had been married before. She had a kid, like all those things. So once I got rid of that criteria, like then she could show up, and it was one of those things. I'm one of those people, I can just know something right in the moment. That's me. That's the attunement I have. It's just, oh yes, that's it. And so I messaged her. I'm like, hey, I don't know what I said, but I was communicating, energetically, like, hey, you're the one, and you know it, right? And she didn't even respond to me at first. So I'm like, what's the heck's going on? So I sent her another message. I'm like, I don't know what I said, but I just felt like I was communicating, like, hey, you're blowing it here. Like, what's wrong over there? Yeah. And she got back to me, and then we got together, and my first thought was, she's amazing, and I also thought, oh man, she's assertive, right? So like again, the assertive thing, she's really assertive. I don't know about that part, So, but I knew, like, I just kept following my intuition. Before you know it, we got married, and the rest has been history of amazing marriage. And everybody talks about these blissful relationships and stuff. But it's more
what was it like having a kid? You got a kid in the deal.
Yeah, it was the best thing ever having kids. I mean, we already had.
With her, a boy, a girl, and how old was the child?
The one she already had was 9 years old, and her name is Amber, and I'm a grandfather now too. So that happened recently. So I'm grateful for that. They had a kid recently, her and her husband, and but yeah, my first child, When she was born, I was dancing around the room with her the minute after she was born. I was dancing, like they cleaned her up. I was dancing around singing to her. Like I was so, because I knew so much. I'm like, you got to bring the great energy to these kids, right? Mm-hmm. So I was, it's been just the most amazing thing to have April and Kira in my life. Then we had Kira after that. So it's just been the best thing ever. One of the best things ever.
You have two daughters you gave birth to, or you didn't give birth to, your father.
That are my own. Yeah.
It's girls.
All girls, and that's been the story of my life too. It tends to be all the girls' world I'm around. So really,
you didn't have girls in your life for a long time, and then you got them 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, 3 of them. 4, yeah, with my wife. Yeah, and I had a sister, right? So it's like girls. Yeah, and I wouldn't have girlfriends, but it's like, yeah, girls. When I had, so, and then all the friends I was making, some of them were guys, but it always seemed like I go deeper often with the girls. It was the girls because they were more into their feelings and deeper and stuff like that on average. So that's part of it.
Wow. And how old is your youngest now?
She is 12 years old.
So you're 12-year-old. Okay, good. So you're still in the middle of raising children.
Absolutely.
So what else happened?
So from there, I went into some other jobs and whatnot to just kind of fast forward a little bit. They went basically well. I mean, I had good employment. I started my own business and with doing therapy. I had an interesting story there real quick I'll share. I went to see about being hired in private practice as a therapist. And when I went there, I wanted to tell them that, hey, I really want to make good money doing this. I really want to do well. And that's my intention. I'm going to help people amazingly, and I'm going to make really good money. And they both started laughing like they wanted to roll on the floor laughing. They were laughing. And they said, you don't make a lot of money doing this kind of work, and that's it. And I thought, oh, yeah, I will. So I was like, okay, this isn't a match. And then I did find a group that worked better for me, but so I got into that and started building things up. So I had a private practice, eventually went on my own, but I was also working a job, and that's what queued me up for eventually I got sick of having to code people, right? You got bipolar, you got depression, you've got social anxiety disorder, whatever. Like, you've got all these things when I knew it was much deeper than that. I mean, there's something spectacular about every single person. That's something I've always known. You're actually whole. You're actually well. There's nothing wrong with you. That's the problem is that people are telling there's something wrong with you. That's why you're suffering. There's nothing wrong with you. And so that's something that I've woven into my work every single stage in my life. I've always been there to let people know at some level, like, there's nothing wrong with you. That's what's the only thing you're suffering from is you think there's something wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with you. And once you realize that, then you can start being yourself, and that will thrive and flourish. So it's been my life lesson and obviously for those that I help as well.
That's great. That's profound. Because we've had the same problem.
Right.
We don't diagnose people. We don't put them into a box. At least Dr. Lessin does. I tend to analyze. Well, that's that, but not for to box people, but to kind of understand what's going on. Like, what can you do? Anyway, so you started having some success. Was it monetary success? Did you start having monetary success as well as having, I guess, spiritual success with these people? And
I didn't have a ton of monetary success at first, so I didn't do so well with private practice in terms of making a lot of money. But I got to a point where I just couldn't stand working in a job anymore, and I always had been talking about going on my own. Eventually, when my first daughter was born, I just decided that's it. I'm having the full life I want. That's it. It's final. I want to be there with my daughter, And it did logically probably was the worst time to do it. But I just knew it was the time. So I just said, that's it. So I tried to make a go of it in private practice. And I wasn't doing so well in picking that up. I had also done training in hypnosis and hypnotherapy and all that. So I was doing that, selling packages of that. So I had some success, but it wasn't enough to pay the bills completely. Then I got the idea, why not go online? It got to be something. So back in 2006, I got online and I wanted to utilize my deeper gifts and abilities because I knew they were there that I still wasn't using them. They were starting to come online. I'd be doing hypnosis sessions for people and I could see what they were visualizing. Like I could see the scenes that they were seeing. So I'm like, oh, there's something going on here, right? And all my life, people would say, how do you know all these things? Like I know something. And they'd be like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I just know it. So this gift started budding and, started coming in and, out, your reality as you're waking up, as is everything started melting. I felt like very, very like everything's melting feeling. And I didn't know how to ground my gift. I didn't know how to ground myself at that time. So then I started working with my guidance to teach me how to work with it. And that's when I came up with, for example, my energy scan technique of tuning into people really deeply to see and understand, who they are at even deeper levels. And that was a big breakthrough. And then I started sharing those energy scans online for free. And then people were having it like, whoa, this is huge, what I was coming up with. And they were so blown away. Even psychics would be telling me, how do you do that? Some of the things I was doing, they couldn't understand. How could I do that? But I was not having financial success still. And I could tell you, the reason why is because I just wanted to help people and I didn't want to feel like I was putting one over on someone, right? So I felt like, well, if they want to hire me, they're going to have to tell me. So, I was getting in my own way and I racked up 6-figure credit card debt. I couldn't, pay the bills. I couldn't put food on the table. We had to go to the soup kitchens or whatever, pantries or wherever we get food. And that's the way it was. I was just stuck. For years, for good 2-3 years at least. It was a while. It was a little while. So it was really tough. And I had a lot of people telling me, even my wife, wondering, when are you going to go get a job again? I'm like, I'm not going to. There's no turning back. I've decided, this is happening. And then it was so interesting because I was all into this thing that a lot of people, spiritual people, are into. It's not about money, we're just here to help each other, right? And I was all about that until I couldn't pay my bills. Until the phone kept ringing with creditors and people saying, hey, I've got bills to pay too. I had one of my landlord, because I still had that office for my private practice. He says, I've got bills to pay too. Come on, get going over there. And I'm like, and it woke me up to the value of, even though I may not agree with the current money system on every level, right? I started realizing there's something here. So I asked Jesus. I had Jesus give me an experience. And he showed me that, no, you're meant to embrace it. You're meant to embrace money. Embrace it. It will shift. It will change. The systems will change. But you need to embrace it. It's going to be a good thing. So finally I had to hear it from someone like an energy like Jesus before I could trust it. And then things started to shift after that. How did Jesus
communicate with you?
How's that?
How was Jesus communicating with you? Was it in a dream? Was
he a baritone or a bass?
It's more of a being almost like a meditative connected state. And then he just took me, he just took me at some level, he took me above the planet, showed me the planet. And in his own way, he communicated to me, but he just would say, you see all this? This is all yours and it's everyone's on the planet. It's all for everybody.
Wow.
So the way he communicated with me just made me feel like it was also silly to be resisting money. So that's the best way I could put it. It was more than just like a dialogue, but it was just an understanding like, oh, I get it. I really am supposed to embrace this. This is a good thing. So once I got that go signal, that was the first thing I really needed to be able to get things going.
So how did you operationalize it? How did you manifest it into your life? Lots of us are stuck there. We're still there. Lots of us.
Exactly. So what I did was it's going to sound bad maybe to somebody, but my thing is I just share the truth of what happened. So what happened was, there was a number of little breakthroughs here and there, and asking people to work with me, or however you want to look at it. But eventually what happened was my biggest breakthrough, which really was the momentum that kicked everything to the next level, is when I stopped being so doggone soft and nice about people working with me. Like, it was just too soft and too nice and too not to the point. So what I did is I just went in with the mentality that this one person I was going to talk to was going to become my client no matter what. Like, I just had this feeling, like, no matter what. So I get in there, we go through what the opportunity was for her to work with me and what shifts I anticipated for her by working with me. And I just says, this needs to happen. This needs to happen. Cause I always feel like the person you're talking to is you, always. It's always that way, right? They're you, so it's like, you really need this. This is important. And it was, right? It's not like I was just, it was. It's all, we're all mirrors, right? So all that kind of stuff and beyond. But anyway, so I was just like, you need this. And then she's like, well, okay, but are you sure? So she lovingly asked me to give me that awesome opportunity to really claim it. I don't know. Are you really sure? I said, I am absolutely sure. Now get out your credit card. We're doing this thing. Let's go. When she did it, I was like, part of me is like, wow, this is happening. This works. Like, and then I figured, like, she'd be mad at me, right? She'd be really think I'm a horrible person. And instead she says, you're such a gentle soul, and thank you, for the way, for taking a stand for me. I'm like, oh my God, you even think I'm a gentle soul still? Because my biggest fear is people think I'm just some horrible, because of my past lives, this horrible killer energy. And so I'm like, instead she's just like, you're such a soft and gentle soul. I'm like, oh God, I still don't think I'm a badass or whatever. So it was really amazing.
Everybody, how did you get from one client to now you're successful?
Yeah, so that shifted my energy where I realized these people are wanting you to be more assertive. They're actually really looking for that, and that's why you're not making any money. And I'm like, oh, I get this. I'm supposed to be more assertive. So I started being more assertive, and as I was being more assertive, then people kept signing up. And so people kept signing up. And in the beginning, it was little amounts, and then I kept offering, more and more things and different things, and it started adding up where I was making enough at least to pay bills and pay for things for us to be able to get by. And then I got to the point where I was just like, well, this isn't right that other people probably are suffering from similar problems, right? They're not owning their gifts as healers and intuitive healers. And they're not being assertive enough. So I decided to start what I called the Academy for Invincible Healers, for Invincible Healers. And I said, that's it. I'm going to teach them to do the tuning in I do. Everybody thinks I'm amazing. They can't do it. They can do it. I'm going to teach them they can. And they're going to make more. They're going to make money. In fact, I was so ambitious. I was like, everybody's going to be a 6-figure healer. and so, because that's around where I was, I was around the 6-figure mark. So I was like, I'm going to teach everybody to do this. And I mean, I had tremendous success in every single person that really applied what I gave to them, which was mostly everybody. They all could do it, and they all did it pretty well. I mean, they did it very well, many of them. And they were able to gain new clients. Some of them did have big financial breakthroughs or really got a thriving practice, and some did even way better than that. But many of them, didn't really, have that level of success, but at least they got something going, right? And they actually claimed this super powerful gift of their intuition and their empathic gift. So, and healing gifts too, I would help them with. So I got that going. That's where I kicked up into the multiple six figures, is through that business. And until I got new guidance after a few years. But like, yeah, that's what I did for a number of years, and it was impacted thousands of people, I'm sure, directly through the trainings I did. But yeah, certified, I don't know,
Wow.
over 100 people plus, and trained hundreds directly in a deep way. So, but yeah, it's huge impact. So I went from this shy, scared of everything kind of guy socially to, doing all this stuff. And when I tell people I used to be that way, most people can't believe me. They're like, you seem very outgoing. So I'm like, yeah, well, that's just one half of me,
You didn't know me when.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
exactly.
great. Do you have a comment, Sash? Deborah, any questions or feedback?
Not yet.
Okay, after the break. Okay, continue with your story. So that's what you did for a while. So what's the next? What happened next? What's the next phase of your life?
What happened next? Yeah, that's great. So what happened is, in around 2017, I got the signal from my guidance that I wasn't supposed to be doing these certifications anymore. I was certifying people in this, doing energy scan healing, and I'm like, oh, okay. I thought I was going to be doing this at least 10, 15 years or something. Like, I didn't think it'd be this fast. And just the guidance was just like, no more of that. And so I was like, okay. So I wound it down. I stopped offering it, doing it like that. Stopped doing the certification. But I had nothing else. I didn't have something new to sell other than maybe my one-to-one. What I wasn't getting was, because of my inner resistance, I'm sure, I wasn't getting clear guidance on what really was next. I went into a void. It was like a void. It was like, okay, just don't do that. Maybe do this. Maybe do, like these little things. And like, okay, I'll try that. I'll do that. Yeah. And so all my money stuff and my worries and everything came up, because right around the same time, we had just bought a new house. It was a bigger house.
I'm thinking about all this stuff. You're taking her on a wild ride. We're making six figures.
She's kind of got used to it. Kind of got used to it, right? After the first time. She's just kind of got used to it. And in fact,
Does she have a job? Does she have something to fall back on?
Well, now she supports me completely. Like, that's what she does. She's worked in the business with me. She supports me in the business. She does work in the business still with me. She worked together with me in the academy to some degree.
Uh-huh.
And so she's just full partnership with me. And she trusts me because of what happened the last time in some sense, right? So she's like, come on. And then when it happened, she's like, she gave me all the credit in the world, because she says, well, I wasn't because of what I thought. Like, so, but she gave me, she hung in there with me though. So yeah, it's been critical. Having that support for me is really important. To have someone that's always here for me, no matter what. That's what makes it so magical for me. And of course, I'm here for her, but I mean, she's just so here for me. It's really amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so we have about 7-8 minutes before the break. So let's do up until the next phase. So now you got a new house. You don't have enough money. Your wife is supportive.
Yeah, well, we still had enough money. We were able to pay things, and I was still close to, I still maintained near six figures. I mean, so it wasn't like everything disappeared. I still was able to make enough sales and whatnot to keep things at least kind of going. But the credit card debt, boom. So things like that, but always somehow things work out, right? So it's in that phase, and we haven't lacked for anything. It's more like a credit card, credit thing, but nothing like the first time. So I never got to that point. And so what happened is that I kept being with this idea that I really wanted to help people make more money. But I also had this idea that I really wanted to help people just to be enlightened presence and beyond. And so it seemed as though I was in a conflict. Because to me, I was still experiencing my own fissure between the idea of being really spiritually connected at the deepest level, beyond all stories, and being really wealthy or making a lot of money, right? So it's still in this place. And what happened eventually is I came to realize that there was no incompatibility. There was just, again, this deep story I had woven. And the truth is the pathway to the sort of impact and wealth of the people I help are wanting to make in the world, it'll only happen if they deepen completely spiritually, in every way. And it's the only way. And increasingly with the way our world is, as we're going into the Aquarian age here, that is the wealth. It is this deepening process, is a stripping process right now for many people. And the deeper you go, the more opportunities are going to emerge for everyone. And it's an incredible opportunity right now. And that's what I'm working on people with now. And some of it's fast. Sometimes I can shift people fast at one level, but the deepening process is a very deep process. And when people start working with me, it just starts to really change the foundation of the way they operate. And that's the most important thing. And I just so happen to help people to be able to make more impact and money. And sometimes it happens fast, and sometimes it's more of a process. But it's really about this deeper thing. It's about this deep transition, and those that are the guardians within the consciousness here on the planet, helping them to be strengthened enough, connected enough, and thriving during this time and doing their work. That's what I'm here for.
So how do you? We're going to run up at the break, but I wanted to, well, how do you do that? To me right now, it seems too abstract. It's like, how do we do the ABCs of that?
It's just, one of the really interesting ways is the very way that Daniel did it. You just imagine that there's the archetype, the essence of Jesus, or another spiritual master inside you, and let that archetype fill you. And what it says is care for your fellow humans, take care of the feeble, honor women. It just and just let that archetype guide you. That's a spiritual dimension, and you can realize it. And at the same time, you walk the spiritual path with practical feet. And they're all synergistic. There doesn't have to be a dichotomy. I totally agree with Daniel. There doesn't have to be a dichotomy. Embrace both. That's how you center yourself, by embracing the opposites within you. That's how society can get along. We can all meet each other's needs in a synergistic way. That's how you evolve past tribalism.
Yes. Yeah, that's absolutely it. I mean, we have to embrace it all, is what I always talk about. We have to embrace it all. I've been on my podcast show, some of those shows I've just been, I feel like I'm begging almost, like the whole consciousness, please don't fight, love everyone. I mean, literally everyone. I mean, even the people you think are the 1000% Satanists and all that stuff, even love them. Love them all. They're all playing the role. Come on now. Everybody's got their own role to play. Love everyone. So and that is key to everything, including financial abundance going forward. Because, I have known a lot of people. I've met so many people, through the time I've done this work. Some really, like, people have made millions and stuff within this realm of this sort of work. But they're, some of them really gotten the golden handcuffs. They're just willing it. They're, talking spiritual, and they're willing it and doing all kinds of things that are not too well. And, they're a mess. And, I really feel for them. But it's infected people's consciousness, and they begin to wonder if they can be authentic and totally just be who they really are, and that it's going to work. And then they start creating all these different marketing systems and weird ways that just they're not going to even work going forward. They're not going to even work. So, people, have to realize this deepening process is where it's at. And I've always known that, but I'm always ahead of it. I've always been ahead of it. I knew this back when I started. I'm like, it's going to be this deeper thing, but I wasn't ready for it. The energy wasn't ready for it, whatever, but something. But like, yeah, every step along the way, I've known this. I was living my future self back when I was in a sense of somewhat of a struggle, knowing that this is the way. And it's just been my whole path to realize how to let it all just be, without feeling like I have to be in control, because I'm certainly not in control. It's just letting it happen, letting what really wants to happen. I'm sure that makes sense to you guys. So.
Ultimately, if the universe is interconnected, as I know it is, what's happening is perfect. And the challenges we're facing now are perfect for bringing out our transcendence from this level of functioning.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And So anyway, the revolution going on is one of deep love and centeredness in the heart. I've been a channeler for a long time, and the channelings always talked about being in your heart space. They all said that it just always be in your heart, again and again and again. They continue to talk about that, and that's where this Aquarian age is gonna blossom first and foremost, is through the heart space, and we're all deepening there right now.
Right. Go ahead.
Oh well, when Enki, who gave us our genes, had in mind, he said, Nibiru is going to be uninhabitable sometime, and we want to come back to an Earth that's got a high civilization and peace and arts. And he's coming back now. This is it. We are entering the age of Aquarius. That's Enki's age.
We'll be back in about 4 minutes.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning, warning.
We've got to stop know the trouble you've started?
Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Rush, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio. All right, thanks for listening while we take that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Aloha and welcome back to the Sacred Matrix. I'm your host, Janet Lessin. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. Our producer is Deborah DeFranco, and you're listening to Revolution Radio, Studio B. Our guest today is Daniel John HannemanThank. And before we get back to our show, I'd like to remind everybody to go up to the donation button on revolution.radio and make your donation. Up there on the left top, there's a tab for your one-time donation, and there's a Patreon button for your recurring donation. We want to thank you very much for supporting Revolution Radio and helping us to bring you shows like ours. Okay, what would you like to say, Sash? We're back.
Well, I get it that sort of the sub program that's going along is that you've learned from your family and your wife about other people and how to treat yourself and other people, and that this has been your source of learning. That's my guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all part of it. Absolutely. I mean, every relationship for sure, and the ones closest to us. So for me, I mean, this whole path of choosing as a soul to be with all this amazing women energy, right, is like, it's all part of that surrender to the heart that I do have, believe it or not. I mean, it's probably hard to tell today, but I have a strong ability to be in my ego. I mean, in a way that is very amped up. Like, I have been known to be very aggressively competitive in certain things at times. Let me put it that way. Like, I can very, very much go there. And so, you know, and that's some of my past life energy. You know, I've done different things, but some of it was this killer energy. You've got to win, you know, you've got to fight for the king. You've got to win. You're a gladiator. You got to win every single time or you're dead. You've got to do it or else. And so, this lifetime of being surrounded with women, I think it's really been about me, in part, me just really surrendering to the heart space and trusting that it's, you know, I can trust that. You know, I can trust being in my presence and in my heart, and that I don't need all that other stuff because, yeah, I've already done my stints with that in the first place, but, that's not what's needed now. And we're seeing that, you know, in the world today. I mean, is that, we're starting to see, that's not where things are wanting to go going forward. At least it doesn't seem that way to me.
So they taught you to be vulnerable and not be always in warrior. Right,
exactly. Because even when I was quiet into myself, there was some part of me that was still fighting everything, you know. It was still like, you know, I'll kick your... I literally, when I was a teenager, for example, I remember it the most vividly. It was maybe the strongest then. I was like, if somebody even touches me, I'll kill them. Like, I had this, like, thing going. I was just like, no matter what, you know, I win and you lose. And, like... So I was very, very intense. And it's taken many, many decades here, it seems like, to die down, so there's a lot there. But yeah, I mean, it's quite a process of letting go. It really is.
So how would we let it go as a species, as a society? It seems like we're in a collision course with some major disasters, but you were able to surrender in your life with your examples you gave us. And then when you surrendered, something greater emerged from the process of, like you said, letting it go.
Higher power, yeah.
The higher power. So what do you think is, how do you see this, or do you see it? How is this going to unfold? It's like we're at the very end of this movie. We've all been a part of this movie, and it's been building up. We've got like this election coming. And
Kali Yuga's over.
The Kali Yuga is over. We're coming into the dawn, but we've got to go through the birth. We're like giving birth to something new. How do you see this unfolding?
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's the big question, right? Anybody tells you they know for 100%, I probably don't believe them. But I'll just tell you, my take on it. I was just got done, I listened to one of your broadcasts a little bit about, I forget the man's name, but he was talking about the whole process of destroying the country and everything. It was out in August, I think, but whatever episode that was, but like the 4 stages and all that stuff. I was listening to that before I came on. Whoever that.
Active measures.
Russian propaganda.
Oh, right. That's right. That was the one. And so I was listening to some of that, and then after that, I listened to some other people that I know that I appreciate what they have to share. I don't agree with everything they say, but I appreciate what they have to share. So when I really appreciate what someone has to share, and I think it's worth my listen intuitively, I listen. So they were saying again, like, warning, the Satanists, they're all, they're intense and they're bringing it all down, and you better do this and that, but they have a kind of an agenda, I feel. So I don't listen to everything they have to say. I'm just being present with what they're saying, and I listen deeper. And I think, some people feel that, there's all these timelines and whatnot, right? So like, we've got all these timelines. Some people think you need to control your timeline, right? Well, we gotta get the right timeline, holy shit, we better get this timeline right. And I think that is honestly, I think that's kind of hilarious to me, to be honest. I mean, I think that's insanity. That's that ego control again. We're going to get the timeline right. Damn it. And don't you guys find that to be a trip? I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah. I don't think there's one. I think we flow. The time is fluid. But what are you going to say?
I think people live in idioverses. Each one is in their own world and their own take on things.
Right. Oh, and Deborah, we were going to ask you your opinion. You said after the break. Are you there? Do you have thoughts on all this?
My opinion on what he's saying? His story sounds very similar to mine, so I can totally relate. I've had a family that told me I'm crazy my whole life, and there's nothing wrong with me. The psychiatrists tell me you're one of the sanest people I've ever met. Right? So it's, again, I don't conform to the way they want me to behave and the things they want me to do. And because I don't conform, I'm crazy. So, I wear that crazy with a badge of honor. I don't really have a relationship with my family because I'm never going to conform, and they still haven't accepted it after 58 years. But I'm okay with it. I've kind of created my own family. So, it's no loss to my life because they checked out of my life. So I'm in a good place. I've accepted who I am for what I am. And if the rest of the world doesn't like it, it's their problem, not mine.
Well, that's true. It's certainly not your problem anymore. So, because you've let a lot of that go. You continue to let go of it, but you've let a lot of it go. So that's not so much your problem as much anymore, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm in a happy place. And, my life circumstances aren't in a great place, but it hasn't diminished my happiness in any way, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's key.
Circumstances are temporary, right? They change, and you just got to manifest what you need to do to get them to change.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is a lot of people judge their circumstances, right? So people are like, well, wow, I'm getting what I want. Boy, my life's going really well. And then when you're not getting what you want, you say, well, my life's not going well. But it's like, well, if people could just appreciate the entire journey, there wouldn't be the suffering. You know, then you lose the suffering. It's like, okay, that's not happening the way I thought I'd like it to be. But why am I letting it be such a big deal? You know, I mean, why do I keep making such a drama around it or get so, so out of sorts about it? Because it is so true. I mean, we have the ability really to experience a depth of beauty and even bliss during almost any period in our life. And so that's something I've learned through a lot of things. One of my other things that I've experienced, I'm sorry, I'm like, okay, back to me, I guess. I'm sorry if I'm cutting off your story. But yeah. So, but I mean, I have had an amazing journey with back pain, for example. It's been pretty crazy. I mean, it wasn't too long ago. I was taking 16 Advil a day or ibuprofen a day and a couple other things. I was in such pain. And, so I've had this journey with that. But even within that, I went in the depth of despair, but I also had this sense of such surrender and bliss and beauty. And there is such beauty in the sense of what seemingly isn't going well for us is actually trying to call us into this depth. And that's when you really start feeling that, and you really feel it and you know it from that deeper place. It's so beautiful. You start realizing your whole journey has been about that. And it, like your whole soul path has been this exquisite symphony of notes and energy. And of course, we have our moments of like, oh, what the heck's going on? Lots of those. But the truth is, it's amazing. So I think the more we can embrace that and wake up to that, is how incredible we get to see it. And one of the things that really helps you to see that, and maybe this has happened for maybe all of you at some point, but I've had those moments where I've almost gone to the other side entirely by my own choice or through circumstance, like, near misses and car accidents and things like that. And when you start to leave the body, you start to realize what a little trip this all is. It's just it's like nothing. It's like this little skip on a track. It's like nothing. And so to appreciate while you're here, this amazing journey is something else. So that's sad. That's what comes up when you share that. I'm just like, man, the whole journey is amazing. Amazing.
Well, that's just it, right? It's about the journey, not about the destination. And that's what we lose sight of, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We totally lose sight of that. And so, we're happier, like when things like, oh, we got the relationship, we've got all the money. Maybe sometimes we are happier, but not always. Sometimes when you get some of these things, they're not what you thought they were because your mind usually is twisted what it thought it was, right? And then you got to learn from that. And then at the end you realize it's just all awesome sauce, and that you're gaining what you need every step along the way. And so we don't have to feel like we have to control it anymore, which has been my big issue, along the way. So it feels really good just to finally be more at peace with the way everything is. I don't claim to be, some people say they've had their full psychological death and everything. I don't claim to be that, but I feel like I've gotten to a place where I'm much less suffering than probably ever before. I mean, so I'm grateful for that. This much I know for sure. So just knowing that no matter what comes. So getting back to the question that was asked, I feel like there's infinite timelines, and we're going to all experience whatever we're going to experience. So no one can predict what it's going to be. And there's a sense of less density within the timelines now for people collectively right now, it seems to me, right? So it just feels very fluid, like anything could happen, right? So the minute everybody's saying the whole world's going to end and it'll be Trump that'll probably end it, or it's going to be Biden, with all this stuff, all the political stuff they've stirred up. It's like, well, the minute you think that, all of a sudden it's going to be something entirely different, maybe completely different than what you thought. You just don't know. So do I think, like, for example, that so much of this energy going into the election is going to create a civil war? That's one of the big questions. Yeah, it could, but I also think it could be just the opposite. I think people could go through a momentary sense of like, holy cow, and there could be a mass awakening. Like, I know it sounds fantastical to people's minds, but I think that's where we're getting trapped in the idea of like, oh no, it's going to get really bad, because that's how the mind's conditioned. No, it's got to get really bad. Got to get really bad before it gets better. We think that's true, but it's not absolute truth. It's just not. So the truth is things may, yes, there's dips in energy and stuff until maybe there isn't. That's even possible, I think. But like there could be dips, there could be chaos and killings and death. My guidance was really clear that it's going to keep being intense, at different times, different periods of time between now and 2030. That's what's going to happen. But I don't even buy that, because I know things can change. But I have been told a lot is in the works to happen. Lots of people are supposed to be dying and leaving the planet, lots of suffering, but that we could alleviate a lot of it by us doing the work that we're doing and what we can bring forth for the collective, those of us that are doing this sort of work. We can alleviate a lot of it. And so what's possible is, I think, everything. And so I would never want to limit it and say, oh, I think this will happen, for 100%, unless I really thought it was. And I still would say I don't know, because you just don't know. And so you just want to be in that place where you can just be at peace with being in your heart space, knowing in a way, in some levels, it doesn't even matter. It's a matter of how you're connected within, and then letting it all just unfold in the most beautiful way, if that makes sense. It sounds very passive to some people, but it really isn't, because when you're supposed to be taking certain actions and your energies are supposed to be pointed in certain directions, you're very active in the whole process. So it's just active in a different way than people are used to. People have been conditioned to fight, be very dense, right, Janet? Very dense. And where we're meant to be very fluid and creative. So I think the creative, generative age of being in a place where we're connected in a way that's beyond what normally is described only on places like this show is what's going to happen. And how it happens and what happens in between, I don't know, but I feel that is likely the direction that things are going. And there's many and many other things I could get into, but in general, that's what I want to share so far.
Sasha, something let's add.
Well, basically, the Buddha said that desire is the root of suffering. Let go of all desire. That means dig what you've got. Don't sweat what you've not. And it's a waste of time to. All you've got to do is see in each moment, how can you be more loving and how can you be more celebrative each moment. And then, if no Armageddon happens and you get you don't get killed and you're still having a good time. And if you get killed, you don't have anything to worry about either. So
right, exactly.
Either way, you're going to win, man. Just have a good attitude. That's what the Buddha said. And I saw I saw his picture in your office when the camera was on, and so I knew, wow, there's a guy who got where it's at, and it's his reminder. The root of suffering is being uptight about what you lack, or instead of going for what you want, just realize you've already got what you need. Look inside; it's all here.
Yes, exactly. And I think as much as we said it's all within, I think people still don't get it. I think we still don't get it. It's all within, literally. It's all within, all of it's within. And every single fiber of your life, every aspect, it's all within. It's absolutely all within. And when you really get that, then the more you can, when you're in the right relationship then with that, the more you can just be at peace with anything, because you just know it's just your own gig unfolding. And yeah, okay, there's all these other beings experiencing it with you, but they're just in your playground because you put them there. And they put you there, right? And it just works together. So it's just like, it's just all beautiful.
The things that really rile you, that really get you going, that seem like they're intrinsically evil and a trample, those are the things that need attention, and it's calling your attention to act in that, so that those challenges themselves are part of the wonderful opportunities you're given to transcend your limits.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. I mean, that's why, if anything, as we've always heard before from other great leaders and whatnot, is to even love those that seem to hate you or despise you or you disagree with the most, to love them even more, because there's so much more there for you. There's so much more there for you. So it's you, because they're just showing up again as a representation of something within you. It's always true. And so as we can go deep with that and really be deeply with that, that's transformative for us. So like in my life, with things like when I think about my family, there could be something with my kids or Deb or whoever it is, but like there could be something where I'm like, I want to argue, I want to get in a fight with this, right? It could be something there. But I've learned over the years, like, okay, maybe that's part of my development at some point, but I don't see so much of a need for it. I don't see a need to mix it up, or, okay, no, but I have another opinion about that, So when my wife says, hey, what's wrong with you? Why don't you do that? I just say, okay, I'll do that. Okay, I could say, why you say it that way? Why? And I want to, let's get into it. Let's talk for 3 hours about this. And, you know what I mean? We've all been there. So it's like, no, that's so needed. Just listen and let it go. It really doesn't matter. You're just messing with yourself then. You're just creating this hornet's nest for yourself. That's all you're doing. And then you just see more of it happening. The more you ignite, the more you get into it, the more of them happen. Wow. Now that it's just more. And it's like, but the more you go easy with it, the less it even comes up that where you even feel that. Like it even becomes even something that shows up. It's just like there's more of a smoothness. And again, some people might think, oh, you just got passive and you just gave into it. But it's not like that. You're actively loving what is, as they say, right? You're actively just like, no, that's fine. I understand your concern. I lovingly understand what you're saying. Whether I like it, my ego likes the way you're talking to me or not, doesn't matter. I don't care about that. So it's really humbling, it's really humbling to just let all that go. And it's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to do. It's taken me a long time to do more and more of it.
That's great. Lately I've had clients and they just call and they're screaming at each other. I guess, part of COVID. What do you do if you have a couple and they're just calling and they're just screaming?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing I've seen, the best thing I've always known about that, and I've seen one of my mentors, his name is Mark Allen. He published Eckhart Tolle, so I follow him, and he's just a very simple man. He talks about the magical path and everything. I just love him. But anyway, he talks about with arguments. I love his approach, and I feel like when I'm doing so-called arguments that show up, this is basically sort of what's happening. I don't know if it's exact, but he says let each person share fully and just listen to them completely, and then when they're done, then you speak, and then they listen completely. And they cannot say anything. They just listen the entire time. They open up their heart. They just listen the whole time. No arguments, no nonsense, just listen. And if you just keep going back and forth a few rounds like that, most issues will resolve like rapidly. So that's what I know about that, is people just are so busy trying to defend that they're right.
Right.
That's what perpetuates the arguing. they have to let all that go. They have to be willing to let all that go just by listening to the other person. They don't have to mentally agree with that idea even, but if they'll just listen deeply, it'll happen automatically. They'll stop trying to argue with them, and then finally just listen, and then they'll find like, oh, you'll understand, like, they just surrender to what's really there, the truth, the love that's there. So that's what I find works the best in my own life. I don't do relationship coaching, so I did that a long time ago with therapy, but not even then did I do it a lot. But yeah, that's what I know about that.
So the two couples that I've had recently, they could not listen. I was doing what I could to get them to listen, but talking over each other, for hours.
You have to instruct them. You have to instruct them. You have to instruct them very clearly. And if they break the rule, you have to stop them instantly. You have to take charge big time in those sessions. As would be my suggestion.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, maybe I was doing it wrong, but I could not get them to stop. And then I finally said, "Listen, I don't want to be part of this yelling."
Yeah.
Because we're not getting anywhere. You guys just want to fight. You just want to yell with each other. As if you're going to fight, why don't you just enjoy it? You guys have fun.
That's another, yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Well, exactly. I mean, honestly, that's what we're doing anyway, right? Our higher selves are like, wow, this is fun. We're having an argument and a fight. We know we're good, Like,
yeah.
It's a trip. Really so no, Janet, you didn't get it wrong. It's just, there's just there's infinite solutions, but I'm just saying, like, that's what I would say, like, if I were to suggest something, like, hey, give that a try. I feel it'll work for you, but give it a try sometime.
Yeah.
One of the ones I like is, okay, now you be her and you be him, and you just carry on the argument. And,
we tried that too. Anyway, eventually the one couple, they went away from each other. They couldn't seem to stop. And the other couple, I was on the phone, and I just backed out. I said, my head's hurting. I can't listen to you guys yelling on the phone, so just go, you don't need me. Just go have fun. And they eventually got over it, though. It's like you said, that if you could listen and yell one at a time, that's good. But they yelled at each other for like a day, and the next day they called back and said, well, how is it? Oh, we're doing fine now.
In one of the exercises for the power center, they have their eyes closed and they don't even pay any attention to the content of what the other person is, but they stand up in their full power of the other person without even listening to them. And it doesn't matter what the content is. They can discharge the energy by these kind of yogic exercises in the asanas.
Well, I think they could just bark at each other.
That's good too.
That'd be another good technique, Janet.
That's one of the ones. You pretend like you're two dogs that you really want to get at each other, and you're being held back by the neck, and you're on all fours. Yes, that's one of the exercises from bioenergetics too.
Right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, because then you're starting to see what you're actually doing, right? You just basically working. Absolutely.
Doing therapy can be fun. So you're still doing, what are you doing right now? We've got about 30 minutes left. So your main focus in your practice, and you're doing this spiritual rock star, like interviews. What's your intention with that? What's your goal?
Yeah, with the spiritual rock star stuff, basically, I mean, my knowing is I'm supposed to be helping people that really are, again, these guardians of consciousness is the way the guidance gave it to me. And I'm here to help them to get aligned, again, with their work at a deep level, deep surrender, deep connection, and to trust that, getting past their old stuff, where the old drivers, the old, like, some people call them 4D drivers, like, they usually have had success at something. Whether it's a job or a business, or maybe they're just awesome, awesome in their relationship at home and with the kids, or whatever it is, because most of my clients are still women. But it's like whatever they did, they're really good at it. But they're starting to surrender. They've surrendered somewhat, right? Maybe they're halfway, but they're surrendering. Right. But like, you still have the old drivers that when I get in there, oh, we're going to get this done. I'm going to make it happen or whatever. You know, some of that energy still wants to come in. And then on the flip side of that is I'm no good. I get everything wrong or whatever, right? So we got all these drivers. So what I do is, I help them to deepen faster by just really getting the energy turned on inside of them, to their purpose. And then, so that's the first thing, to their purpose, to their gifts. And then energetically just getting them aligned, deep down inside it in their core and letting the rest follow, so that they can do it in a big way and thrive in their business, so they can be effective. One of the things I focus on if they're like coaches and healers and things like that, and they don't have the money coming in the way they want to, is I'm like, do you even have anything selling consistently? And if they tell me no, then we develop something for them quickly and see about getting that going fast. Because a lot of it is really about this sort of transformation. The fast path to get it going, anyway, I've noticed is, again, if I do this deeper energetic work while I coach them intuitively on what I feel worked for them, we're like getting both of those aspects taken care of at the same time when they work with me. So it's like, okay, we're getting that, what you want to offer to the world, figured out, so to speak, the branding, the specifics of what you're going to do for people in the world, how you do it maybe a little bit, but like, what are you offering and how are you offering it and how much and all that stuff. And the value, having people really own the value of it and that their whole being is turned on. It's like, it's not a mental decision. It's like really more so like turning the energy on inside them where they're just like, no matter what, this is happening. Like, it's a done deal. So the energy turns on, awakens, and then within that process, old stuff starts to drift away, which is the most important thing to me, is their old drivers to have to dry up. Because what they're being called into can't happen otherwise. That's just the way it is right now, for so many people. So yeah, I work with this, could say I work with chakras and all that. I channel, I do all these different things, but I'm basically working intuitively with people to get them lined up with their gifts, their purpose, what they're offering in the world, and then helping them to stand in the energy of letting it happen. And yes, I do support their marketing and sales and all that, but that's usually kind of a little bit secondary. I mean, that's not the primary thing I'm really interested in. A lot of that stuff I will have other people work on with them, that I trust. But more so I'm focused on getting them focused so that they can have their energy be right. I'm the energy key is what they always tell me. You're the energy key. So that's what I work on, is being the energy key for them. And all the strategy stuff I help to a certain degree in the overall strategies, maybe some of the details. And because when I know something's right, I just know it's right? Because of my intuition. So I'm able to draw that out of somebody and get them where they feel it's right too. So I'm not, so they don't have to go into a business coach where they just say, this will work for you. It worked for a few of my clients. I'm sure it'll work for you. But like, I'm really getting it turned on. And honestly, at the end of the day, I'm more interested in their evolution of a soul and their process of waking up as much as anything, right? So, and the rest goes with it. So, so that's basically, if that makes sense, that's how I work with people.
So how are you doing this in times of COVID? There's so many people now having to reinvent themselves. They have to shift from what they used to do, and we're probably not going to go back to that. It's right. Like we were in pre-COVID, now we're in the middle of COVID. There might be post-COVID, but COVID might be here forever in some form.
It's 4 years or 5 years for sure.
Yeah, we've got years before. So how are you helping people in these trying times to reinvent themselves, to figure out something, who they are, what they can do? Or should they do nothing? It's like the whole society needs to be restructured, because this one wasn't working. I don't think we would have had all this catastrophic things that are potentially catastrophic had not we called it into existence as a society on some level. So,
oh yeah.
So what do you think?
Oh yeah, we absolutely have called it in, and it's all part of our deal, right? So But yeah, I mean, so I mean, it's a perfect time for people to reinvent themselves because you need to. You know, the vast majority of people can't just kind of coast anymore. If not, maybe everybody, right? I mean, just about everybody. So vast majority of us that's not even an option to just kind of coast and try to get, that's where they are, right? And, you know, so to speak, when they're programming us about the new normal. It's funny, they're programming us towards the new normal, their new normal, but right. We're really going into a new normal that's at the same time at a deeper level than what they're talking about. So it's like you have to reinvent yourself, and how are you going to do it? You're going to need to, you know, for a lot of people, they're going to need support from people like myself, because how do you do it if you've been so caught up in your head? But increasingly, because of the resonance of energy here on the planet, right, and the collective, you increasingly either, you know, I mean, it's true. What people are saying is true. They have truth to it. You're either going to leave the planet, right, as people are with COVID that are already in compromised states, or you're going to wake up and you're going to be a part of bringing in the next age, and then maybe you'll leave. And some people are going to be here to experience some of the big stuff that'll come ahead. So, I mean, you don't have a choice, first of all, and you're going to have to adapt one way or another. And a lot of people are going to go deeper into suffering. It's just, if I were to predict, okay, I mean, I don't wish that on anybody, but a lot of people probably will. Hopefully not, but probably. And then I feel like people that are just following their intuition and willing to finally get the support and help they need, by listening to their intuition, you can get what you want by just listening, is what the whole theme of the show is ultimately. Listen. When you listen deeply, all your problems go away. When you listen, life is a listening. So, how am I doing it? I'm just having people really deeply listen, really, when I get down to it. I'm listening deeply. They're listening deeply. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to have to listen very deeply. And if you keep putting out your tweets or your, you know, social media posts to argue with people I'm going to do it in a nice way, try to share this truth with them. And, you know, maybe, but, you know, the bigger thing is to listen. And I would say not even to respond. You know, I mean, a lot of people do better to just turn all that stuff off too. All the social media and everything. That's one way to reinvent yourself. Maybe some of you need to just turn it off. If you're being triggered all the time by it, you better turn it off. You know, just turn it off. Because I tell you, that alone can transform your life. You may feel like your whole life just changed by turning off all the social media and the news. Like, wow, I don't know, they talking all this stuff, but I'm enjoying my life. So, right. I mean, yeah. So that's the part.
Trolls. I mean, nothing personal. I just don't want to hear, you know, the negative stuff. So I block it. I unfriend, I block. I mean, they're not going to notice me. They have 20,000 friends, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm just like clearing out the negativity. It's just like clearing away cobwebs.
Yeah.
Well, when you hear, say, a representative of the patriarchy, like the President of the United States, saying something, instead of getting reactive, you just go to your own inner patriarch and say, inner patriarch, what do you want from me? Oh, I want you to be safe, boy. Oh, okay. So that you could get to the motive of whoever you seem to be opposed to by feeling what vibrates in resonance within you. And then you can have a conversation with whoever it is.
Right. Because you're responding to something that's about yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Even though it appears to be somebody else.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's the thing. That's why, if anything, we should love people that are so against Trump should be doing just the opposite. They should be loving him like the saint he is, in a way, because, you know, I mean, listen, I mean, everyone's being so, you know, in a collective way, okay? People are being so, what's the word I'm looking for? Timid, you know. I want to say timid with their life. Like, so, you know, you're getting like, no, don't be timid. You know, you're getting a reflection of that. you're getting a blessing of that. You're getting a blessing of seeing undercurrents of unconsciousness that his energy is exposing so much. He's exposing so much darkness by being the frequency he is.
Yeah.
So he is really doing a lot of wonderful, incredible things. And yeah, your mind can look at it and say, whoa, but wait a minute. Well, look at all this horrible stuff he does. But listen, he's a blessing. He's exactly what we needed right now. And we've got to realize that. And it's going to change. I mean, if I were to make predictions, okay, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets reelected, to be honest with you. And I think that I'm not even going to say what's going to happen during his time, but I will say for sure that I feel the next president's going to be a woman, and that we're going to, and that woman is, going to hopefully be a great energy to anchor us, begin to anchor this Aquarian age. And I'm sure she will. Even no matter who she is, and no matter what the agenda is at the time, I'm sure she'll be perfect, because it's always works that way. So, well, I feel we really need a woman president, not just because they're a woman, but the right one. And I feel that will be the next president. And that if I'm going to make a prediction today, that's one of them I'll make. Because I really feel it. I deeply feel this. This came to me recently. I'm like, well, it came through a channeling, actually. And it said we're going to have some crazy stuff happening, and it's going to get worse, then it'll get better. And we're going to go through cycles like this. And my wife writes it all down, so I couldn't remember to tell you everything I was saying about it.
You're channeling. Are you channeling a certain person? Is it your higher self? What like a Ashar channel is channeled by David, what's his name? Daryl Anka. So are you channeling somebody that's an ET or a human, or what do you channel?
I channel a number of frequencies, not massive amounts like some people, but a lot of the guidance just comes from me being in the channel, and I could feel all these different beings that are there, and I just let them all simulcast kind of into one message. So it's not like just one collective group or something, or one being. So it's like just being. Some people say, "Oh, I'm just tuning into source," but I'm aware that there's beings there that are working together to bring the message, and so I'm tuning into all this stuff, and then I do channel some of the archangels, and especially like Metatron and Archangel Michael, and then Jesus. So a lot of actually male energies. I channeled a lot from Gandhi in the past, not so as much lately, in the recent years, but so a number of different ones, and then certain ones will just pop in. I haven't actually, that in my memory, actually channeled, like in a channeling session where I'm speaking ETs. I do connect with their energy and I communicate a bit, but I haven't channeled those energies, so to speak. I had the idea to give that a whirl, though, sometime soon, before the show, actually. So that was fun.
Are your deceased relatives guiding you? Do they appear? Do you?
They don't really show up that way for me. I feel intimately connected with, like, my dad, for example, on the other side. I just feel his loving presence. I do hear his voice at times, but I don't sit down like, okay, now I'm channeling my dad. I don't do that. But yes, so it's like I'm channeling all day in a way, right? You're connecting, you can feel it, you hear things. But yeah, when I do the voice channeling, it's usually like archangels or most, or the guides or ascended masters, or just the sense of like all of them, like, like some people would say, like I said before, like source energy. I'm just channeling. It's just coming. And, it's really cool, the channeling, because the channeling is, I mean, some people come to me with these questions. What do I do about this or that? Sometimes those energies, they come in, and by the time they're done, they had 100 questions they ask me, and we get 3 questions in. They're like, oh, I can see all my other questions are senseless now. I'm like, yep. When you get to deep wisdom, then you don't have as many questions anymore. So that's the kind of stuff that often comes through with the channeling. deep, deep stuff, and they're tuning the people's energies, and you know all the good stuff.
I want to go back to the female president, because I keep getting like some kind of excitement that we've got these current parameters, which seem kind of dark wherever you look, that something is going to like shift, just like when the Berlin Wall came down. I don't know. I'm the generation that we went through it. Went up during Kennedy's administration. It came down in the 80s, and we thought it was there and going to be there forever. And just one day, it came down. And then for years in our therapy practice, we would help people that had escaped from the Berlin Wall, and they processed their story, how horrible it was. And so it was a major event for the world, but it was over in 24 hours. So there's something outside of these box that we have, these current parameters.
Yep.
So when you said about the female president, it's almost like, we think we're going to have Trump and Biden, but there's some woman going to come, maybe, I won't say Pelosi, but I don't think she wants to be president anyway.
No, that won't. That's not going to happen. That won't happen. I don't see that happening anyway. I don't, but I know it's going to be someone. I won't be surprised if it isn't someone with much more of an enlightened presence that just takes the world by storm, so to speak. That's ready to clean stuff up.
AOC! Sasha was AOC.
Well, whoever, but I mean, whoever it is, I don't think it's her either necessarily. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see who it is, but it's just the energy frequency that I'm feeling. Again, it's not, everybody's looking for, where's that perfect world we're going to get to? Yeah, forget that one. You got your perfection already today. All right. So don't go looking for that. But it's interesting to talk about what the coming events might be. Right. So it's like, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And when this person gets in, I mean, there is going to be, it was a feeling of like the big shifts will happen. And how far it goes, I don't know, but that's all I know so far. So that's all I can tell you so far. The rest might have been written down when I was channeling, but I don't usually review those notes right away. So I'm not sure yet.
And some people think that we're going to have disclosure of the extraterrestrial presence.
Yes. We'll have more of that. Yeah, we're going to have more of that. That's coming. When again, I won't predict completely, but I have got a lot around 2025 was a big year that I've been getting on the ET stuff. And, they're going to make a full appearance. And I love what you share on my show. There's going to be so many, they're going to bring all their ships. They're going to be everywhere. Nobody can deny it anymore. Like, they're going to overwhelm the skies. I love that idea. I don't know if it'll happen for 100%, but I love that idea.
They've already done that in Mexico City.
They have. They have done it in places, right? But imagine it all around the world at once. That'd be incredible.
The White House in, 1952 or something.
Yeah.
But what I got was a very clear vision. It was a night of dreams and then nothing in between and the next night. So it was 3 days. And they came down with all their ships, and they were everywhere. And it was like, oh, of course, this is the way to do it. There's no question. They're everywhere you look. There are ships in the sky. They're not aircraft. They're doing all kinds of maneuvers. And then then while we watched for a while, then they sent their representatives down into every location. So everybody they can do that. It's just very easy. So everybody got to talk to an ET or a group or a council or be part of a group, and it was like, ask your questions. We'll tell you whatever, you want to know. And so it was a shift. We went from, like we had COVID, pre-COVID, and then of course they have cures for all diseases. They have energy systems, so we go from this paradigm where we're going to die between 50 and 100.
Clean up the environment together.
And they clean up the environment, and then I wonder, well, maybe I'm just so used to the Messiah and the Jesus thing, but maybe that's real. That's what we need at this point, because we kind of screwed it up. We've got the whole planet on fire and all this stuff going on. So maybe this is critical mass time, and of course they're going to come in because we're their children. They've been watching us all along. And this thing about no intervention, well, they've been intervening all along. They've been abducting people and having contact all along. And we symbol it in different ways. Like when you said you talked to Jesus, I was just going, well, did you actually I mean, what happened? Because we get stories all the time about people talking to different entities, and then when people die, they say they talk to Jesus or Muhammad. So it's like, this isn't just a character of the past. This is somebody that is accessible to people who tune into the right frequency.
Yeah, I know. The biggest thing that blocks people from having the same sort of experience I have with it is they just think it's supposed to be this, spectacular experience where it's like, whoa, Jesus is here, oh my God, and I'm connected, and he's right here with me, and they think it's always going to be like that, and it's not. For most people, they don't have that experience, at first. They may have experiences like that, but I'm just saying usually it's not like that. It's more subtle, and people think that's not enough, like that's not real, and they'll even think that they're just making it up, right? That's the most common thing that my clients feel when they go to doing such things.
For lots of people, if they've done ecstasy, you see, that's the feeling. You love everybody.
Right.
But when they're making it up, since nothing can be created or destroyed, only changed in form, it's somewhere. So they're actually bringing it into their awareness.
Right, exactly. Exactly, and I always tell them that because they have proof when they actually do the energy scanning I do. I say the basics of that is like, hey, just sit down and tell the person, at this workshop everything you know about them, and just make it up. Just make it up as though you know it. And they do, and they're like, oh my God, like I was incredibly accurate with them. And then they see like, yeah, I said, the more you feel like you're just making it up, the more likely it is that it's true, actually. Because when you're in that connected field and you feel like you're making it up, where you're tuning in.
Yeah, a lot of people are symboling it as remote viewing. I remote viewed my own past. I remote viewed this and that, and they make it up, and then they're so surprised when people say, oh, that's totally accurate. You just got that. Oh, just one thing off, and,
Yeah.
So we have these abilities that we don't believe we have, but we have them. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is critical during this time. That's something I'm a huge stand for too, and I feel I'll play a big role in going forward in some level at least. That and I already have with the energy scanning. But like, think about it. I mean, we have to update. The AI is showing us the way in a way, right? They're like, well, we keep updating. It's going really fast, and it's almost like saying, are you guys going to kind of keep up? Like, I'm not saying we have to keep up, but like, it's almost like that. It's like, well, wow, that's so advanced. I mean, well, we could update too. We can keep updating constantly what we're capable of. It's all there. It's all there. We have an infinite field to draw from too, just in a way like the AI will have. But like, we have the ability to do that, and we just have to wake up to it. And so the best way is to allow the frequency shifts. I mean, that's where it really happens. That's the real deal. So when the frequency shifts come, you're just in a different state where, you can't really explain it to anybody, right? So it's just, you're in that different frequency state where things, are just happening. And, honestly, like, just the most incredible stories I can tell people. But like, this might not sound like much, but like something as simple as, like, I remember just being clear, like I get in these deep connected states all the time. And like we went to a theme park. I think it was, which one was it? Universal out in Florida. So we went there, and I was like, the first day they do the fingerprinting. They're like, okay, let's read your fingerprints. See, they'll let you in, and that's how they do it. And I was like, the second time I went, I says, I don't like this fingerprinting. I'm not going to let them fingerprint me, and I'm going to get in. And I just had that awareness, that thought, that feeling. And we usually attribute that to our own thoughts, but those are actually beings that are communicating to us when we get these thoughts. And they're like, no, this isn't going to happen that way this time. Sure enough, I get up there and they're like, well, this is quite odd. We can't seem to scan your fingerprint. And so they just got frustrated and said, God, just go on in. Don't worry about it. And like, this is one of many, many stories where crazy things happen. Like, you get the download and it just happens, that way. And so they're trying to show us, what's possible, what's available, which is everything. Everything's available.
So
can you affect which horse we're in?
No, we're not doing that.
Affect what? Now, what did you say? Affect what?
Can you slow down the lead horse so that your horse wins?
Well, I could if I really was interested in it. I would say, what you're really interested in, genuinely and sincerely, that's what's going to happen.
And give the money to
what you're interested.
You'd give the money to your favorite charity, of course.
Yeah, but if your soul already knows deep down inside, in a way, it doesn't really care about that because see, it's true. So, but if it was really important to your soul's evolution to have that experience, you'd have it. See, it really is true. It really does work that way. Like when I'm able to communicate telepathically with, a cop or something that's about to give me a ticket, or I did something wrong, or even on purpose. Like one time I got on a train and I didn't pay for a fare. And they're like, wait, where's your ticket? And I'm like, I don't have it. I didn't get one. And I just said, I just did the Jedi mind trick. I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just make sure you don't do that again. Okay. Thank you. And I had my friend there with the witness that she says, that was pretty cool. So at least everything's possible. Everything's available, man. We can do things that people just aren't aware of yet.
Wait 1 minute. Tell people how to reach you.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. So, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com, yoursacredpurpose.com. I highly recommend you get my Meditate and Make Money meditation, especially if you're like a coach, healer, or a spiritual entrepreneur. And it will open you up. It opens up your energy and your chakras each day and gets you the downloads. And it puts you at peace with money. It gets you to where you just... What I say in the meditation a lot is let it be easy. And that's what this is all about. Can we let it be easy, or are we going to keep freaking out with the lower density energy, right? So let it be easy, and it'll align you with your money. And then there's opportunities to connect with me in other ways there, including getting some of my famous energy scanning as well there. So so if they want to check that out, it's at yoursacredpurpose.com. My Spiritual Rockstar podcast is there as well, that you were on, Janet, in my blog section.
Go listen to my interview with
Yes. That's amazing. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a delight having you here. Our music will be coming on any second now. And thank you, Sasha. Daniel.
You can love money. It's okay for you to have a lot. You deserve it.
Yes.
It's nice to get money. You'll do it, and you'll spend it well, and everybody will be happy, including you.